Hey everyone, today I'll be showing you my Blaster Blade Exceed deck profile. Let's get started. So for the starter, we have Wingull Brave, and his skill is put this unit into soul. When an attack hits during the battle that this unit boosts, a unit with Blaster in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to one card with Blaster in its card name, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So the reason why you play him over Blue Skull Barkle is because early game, say you don't have a 2 or a 3, you ride a Blaster Friend Barkle and attack, it hits, you get the unit that you don't have, and you're good to go for the rest of your plays. He also adds Soul to the deck, and I know that's not really a problem, but for like Myriad and well, mainly just Myriad, but when you need those 3 cards in Soul, it helps keep your Blaster Blade cards in for Religious. Next, we have the grade 3s for our deck. Blaster Blade Exceed. So, for any Blaster Blade, he is mandatory, mainly because he's a grade 3 Blaster. And Counterblast 1, when you G unit with Saver in its card name, which is Alfred, Religious, Myriad, yeah, those ones. When you stride during your turn, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to one card with Blaster Blade in its card name. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So if you don't have a card to stride with, grab Blaster Blade Exceed. If you don't have a Blaster for Alfred's effect, grab Blaster Blade. If you Blaster Blade or Spirit, if you have Flogos on the field, call Blaster Blade, because then you can use her effect to restand him. That effect is so good. And then auto also, when this unit is placed in rear or vanguard, pay the cost. If you do, choose up to one of your opponent's 1s or greater rear guards and retire it. So if they have a small hand, retire the units in front. If you don't like them boosting and having big numbers, destroy the units in the back. It's super versatile. And you need 4 of them. Mandatory 4. Next, you have Blaster Blade, which is obvious. It's a Blaster Blade deck. Everyone knows his skills. I'm not going to say what they are, but you need 4 of him because of Flogel's skill, which is restanding him, and you can do for combos. Also, Alfred doesn't need Blaster Blade, but you need him for comboing with Flogel, which makes the deck super rushy. Especially in the very beginning, if you use Lou, which I'll talk about later, you call him, and that's 2 attacks right there. And 4 of him. And this is the triple R SP looking one from the trial deck. Next, we have 4 favored pupil of Light and Dark Lou. So when this unit is boosted by a unit named Blaster Friend Barkle or Floral Paladin Flogel, by the way, if you can, put Barkle behind him, because then you call Blaster Blade and his skill is basically free. And it gains 3. Counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul at the end of the battle that this unit attacked to Vanguard. You may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 card with Blaster in its card name, call it to rearguard, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets 3,000 to the end of turn. So like I said earlier, you really want, you can have Floral, but you really want Barkle. Call a Barkle behind him, attack, he's a 19k beater, and then you call Blaster Blade, and then that's another 12. So that's 2 attacks. And then if you have Floral, that's 4 attacks. And then next we have 3 Blaster Blade Spirit. So basically you play him because he's Blaster Blade, but then he's also a 10k, so that helps with rush decks that just like to 9 poke you like a million attacks. and it may not seem like there's only 3, but you search it out with all the other cards in your deck, and he's like, you need 3, just because of rush, and just you need more blaster cards to call. Next, we have 4 Laurel Knight Silicus, and the reason why you play him is because since you only have 3 Exceed, you need more cards to stride with. So you play him at 4, so that way you'll have 8 units to stride with. And for him, for Exceed, you can use his skill to call him into hand, but if you just draw Silicus, you can just drop him and do more combos with Exceed. Next, we have 4 of Wingull Youth. And the reason why he's at 4 is he is super good early game. Because he's another one of the cards that searches. If I don't have a card that's if I don't have by the way, a bunch of these cards search for Blaster Blade, but the reason that this is different, it says with. It says with Blaster Blade, so it has to have Blaster Blade in the name. Lu said a card with Blaster. So Lu is more versatile because he can call any Blaster card. This one specifically, either Blaster Blade Exceed, Blaster Blade, or Spirit. But it's still good because you can get a grade 2 in your hand if you don't have it early game. Basically, when this unit attacks or boosts and the attack hits, look at top 7 and grab a blaster grade 2 or 3 and put it to your hand. It also is good because it gives you a lot of soul early game. Next, we have the Blaster Friend Barkle, and he is at 4 because when you play a Blaster Blade and when you play a card named. Now see, this says named, so it has to be just Blaster Blade. So it can't be Spirit and it can't be Exceed. It has to be just Blaster Blade, the original. So if you play Blaster Blade in front of this, you countercharge 1. So basically, it helps free up your damage. That way you can do more skills, which basically is like Flogel, just a ton of Flogel. But you have to have a Vanguard with Blaster in its name to use the countercharge, which means if you play an Alfred deck, you can't use his skill. You have to have Blaster Blade Exceed on Vanguard to use it. Next, we have 2 Packgull. And the reason why you play Packgull is because this deck doesn't have a problem with Soul. You've got Lu going to Soul, you've got Wingull Brave going to Soul, you've got Wingull Youth going to Soul, and you really need the damage to be able to flip it, and the counterblast. But basically you take 2 out and you flip 2. So when you do get him, he's like a sigh of relief because that means you're able to do a lot more with your deck. Next we have 4 of Bringer of Divine Grace Epona. Basically, it's the PG on Flipper. You can play the other PG on Flipper, I forget her name, but it's whichever one you prefer because she helps give you more counterblast for the deck, and you need it, so you might as well just play 4 of this one. Next, we have my favorite critical because she is so good. So Counterblast 1 at the end of the battle that your unit named, so it has to be the original Blaster Blade. Attack to Vanguard. You pay the cost if you do. Choose one of your units named Blaster Blade on the rear guard, stand it, and put this unit back to the deck and shuffle. So basically, you stand your Blaster Blade, and then you have another crit in the deck. She is wonderful because you're able to put more cards in your deck so you don't deck out, and you are able to stand your units and attack for more damage. And there's 4 of her. Next, you play 4 of another crit. So I'm playing 4 of Pink Comet Flogel, and the reason I'm playing her is because she's a high beast. And I'll get to that in a second, but there's a reason why you want a bunch of high beasts in your deck. Next we have Next we have 4 Margle. So I play 4 of them because, not because of his go to soul, it's mainly for his just draw effect. Because yes, you draw a lot, but you want to have enough cards in your hand to be able to defend your blaster blades, and being able to have enough hand for when you have to use Alfred's skill to get rid of a card. That way you'll have a big enough hand to be able to guard next turn and to be able to call more units if your units get destroyed. So you play 4 of him. And then last but not least, in every Excced deck, there must be Elaine. Doesn't matter if it's the old one, it doesn't matter if it's the new one, you need Elaine. And preference, you probably want the triple R Elaine because, come on now, it's the highest level trigger you can get for the deck. Now, earlier I was talking about how there's a bunch of combos. Well, for Alfred Saver, he's GB2. So unless, not unless, you basically to be able to play Alfred first, which you really want to do, you have to G Guardian. And so to do that, I've got 2 GD Guardians in the deck. I've got Great Flashy Salt, and her skill is Counterblast 1 when this unit is placed on the G Guard. If you have a Vanguard with Alfred or Blaster in its card name, pay the cost. If you do, this unit gains 5 shield for each of your rear guards, which means she's a potential 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. She's basically a 40k shield. But the thing is that I don't like about her is she's a counterblast. And it may, in the early game, it might be alright, but in later game, it's not, because you have to do enough combos to be able to kill them. And she just takes away one of those counterblasts, which you could have used for a Fogel or a Lou or something else that you actually need. That's why I don't like her. But she's a high level shield, so you need her for the moments that you need that shield. The other one is Laser Guardian Dragon. So this is really the only other good one to use. There's one that requires 2 grade 2s and it gain in the front row, and it gains plus 10. But that requires 2 grade 2s, so it's not that's way too much of a cost, especially if they're going to be retiring your units. So this one is, if you have 1 grade 2 in your rear guard, it gains plus 5, so it's a 31k shield. I know it sucks. In GB11 coming out in September, we'll get Marin, and that Marin will be replacing either 1 Assault and 1 Laser Guard or 2 Laser Guard, just because it's a counterblast, and it's a lot better. It's a Soul Blast, and it's a lot better having to do a counterblast late game. Next, and the reason why I said you wanted a bunch of High Beasts in your deck is I play Gold Knight of Gleaming Fang Grimoire, and you say, wait a minute, this is a Gold Paladin unit. But haha, it's continuous. This card is also a Royal Paladin unit, which means you can use him in your Royal Paladin decks because he's a Gold Paladin and a Royal Paladin. But he's good late game because, well, first off, he's a GB2 skill, and you can only use it once. So he has 2 skills. Unfortunately, you're only able to use the one because the second one requires that you have a Heart card Grimoire, and you can't play it because it's Gold Paladin. But his first skill is the real reason why you play it. Choose a card from your drop zone and put it on the bottom of your deck. So say you've gone through all of your Exceed and Stride fodder. Oh, Exceed to the bottom of the deck. But the real reason what you want to do it is because you want to you want to put a heal, a critical, or something if you don't have a lot of cards. That way you're able to make your deck bigger to be able to stride for next turn, especially later game, or just having a heal in a deck and being able to survive later on if you're at 5 and your hand's small. That way you're able to take an attack and not have to guard. But reveal 6 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to the same number of your units as the number of high beasts revealed, and they gain 4,000. And then, if you do 4 more, choose or they were chosen. This unit gains +1 critical. So basically, you've got Flogel, Floraflogel, Margle, Youth, Wingull Brave's on the deck, but I guess you could put him back in the deck, Wingull Brave. So you potentially have 22 to 23 units to use with his skill, and since you go through all your other units, it's usually triggers, and that's the reason why you want to play Pink Comet Flogel, because she is a high beast and makes it more targets to be able to use for him. But he's really good because later game, he's +1 critical, so that's 2 damage. And if they can't guard it and they're at 4, you basically win if they don't have if they can't heal. The next unit is the one you use if you're not able to use a G Guardian by the time you stride. It's Holy Dragon Legit Sword. Turn 1, Counterblast 1. If you have a heart card with Alfred or Blaster, which you will, and its card name, search your deck for up to 1 grade 2 or less card with Swordsman of Light or Blaster in its card name. Call its rear guard, shuffle your deck, and that unit gains 2,000. So basically, call Blaster Blade. It's it's 11k attacker, or call Blaster Blade Spirit, and it's a 12k attacker. It's alright when we get Gancelot in September also, which every Blaster Blade deck needs to play it. But once we get that will be the first stride, and this will kind of just like lose its place in the deck. Next, we have Holy Dragon Religious Soul Saver Dragon. So for her second skill to work, you need to have two Blaster Blades in the deck in your soul, meaning that when you're riding, you need to have, basically the only way to pull this off is you have to grade 1 you have to have Barkle, and then grade 2 you have to have a Blaster Blade. You later on you can also stride and Exceed over an Exceed to use a skill, but I'd rather have the grade 1 Blaster Friend Barkle and one of the Blaster Blades in it for her skill. But Counterblast 1 and choose a face up. It's a flipper. Holy Dragon Religious Soul Saver Dragon from your G. And turn it face up. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard, if you have a heart card with Blaster Blade in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose up to 3 of your units, and then and they get 5. So she's auto, which meaning the units on your field now gain the +5. That's kind of a downside, because if they attacked before and got rid of a bunch of your, like, say your front units, and you only have back units, that kind of sucks. But she also you can also give it to your Vanguard, making her 31k, which isn't bad. But if you're going to use her, try and keep your front row, because then they also gain a +5, which will help you attack and make their hand go down to be able to attack with her to game. But fine, into end of turn. And then if the number of cards in your soul with Blaster is 2 or more, this gains +1 critical. That's why you need the Barkle and one of the Blaster Blades in your soul. Next, we have Holy Dragon Mermaid Soul Saver. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, but Blaster Blade Exceeds skill requires that you have one of the Soul Savers. So basically, it's the Religious Soul Saver Dragon and Mermaid Soul Saver and Alfred, the Counterblast 1 and search for a Blaster card. That's why there's so many of these Soul Savers. But Counterblast 3 is auto. Counterblast 3, when this unit attacks your Vanguard, and you have a heart card with Alfred or Blaster, all your rear guards gain +5. And this is good for later game when you want to basically try and just kill their hand, because if you have a 16k column, oh look, now it's a 26. You have a 21. You have an 11. You just have 26. And it basically makes them just waste more cards in their hand. But if you can get a bunch of crits, that would just be even better. Just like I say, they perfect guard. Oh, you put your crits on your rear guards, and your 26 is 31, and your 21 is 26, and now it's like, oh, they have to use up so much hand that it just completely kills them. And that's better for later game. You can do it earlier game, but later game when they have less hand is when you want to use that. And next, your favorite card, and the one you want to try to use the most, is Divine Night King Alfred Holy Saber. Basically, counterblast 1 to drop a card, give one of your blaster blades, I'm pretty sure it's just, is it blaster blade? Yeah, this card, choose one of yours. Okay, so it has to be Spirit, Exceed, or Blaster Blade, but they gain 3k and they gain Twin Drive. And you basically combo with Flogel, and attack. You attack with your Vanguard first, stack all of your crits on Blaster Blade, attack with Blaster Blade, you do your drive check, put all the crits in Blaster Blade, and then you just use all your Flogels and attack again and just crit them to death. And he's a flipper, so you're only able to do him twice, so use him wisely. He's always my second stride. If I'm not able to G guard, then I do Legit Sword and then Alfred. But if I G guard, then my first G stride is Alfred, because he gives you Blaster Blade's a twin drive and Alfred's a triple drive, so that's 5 cards to hand. And then on top of all, if you get any draw triggers, then your hand is just huge. And that can help you stop decks that like to just spam you. You can just use your hand and then just use them again, and you would get another 5 cards in your hand and any more draws. Well, thank you for watching my deck profile of the Blaster Aichi Sendo's, well, not Blaster, the Blaster Blade Exceed deck profile. Later on in the week, I will be having matchups between Shadow Paladin, Genesis, Fenrir, and mirror match with another Blaster Blade Exceed deck. So I hope you stay tuned, and I hope you like it. Please like, rate, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you had a good time. Bye.